New Mexico is not far from our home in Colorado Springs, but we haven't really visited much of it other than a quick trip to Taos with the in-laws. Southward we went, crossing the border into New Mexico. As we did, we noticed the clouds to the southwest starting to build. Let's do lunch in Santa Fe as it's on the way to Los Alamos. We got into Santa Fe, and let me tell you, that is a difficult city to drive around in with your 4Runner and your rooftop tent packed to the gills. We ended up parking 10 plus blocks from the main plaza. As we walked back to the plaza, we saw a neat artists market, and then we went looking for lunch. We walked into a bunch of different places, saw some neat foliage inside of the plazas, and we finally found our place. And I, of course, had huevos rancheros, which is not lunch, it's actually breakfast, but that's okay. While eating, the storms continued to build, and neither one of us really liked camping in the rain or the stormy or windy weather, so we thought, let's go to Plan B. Oh yeah, we needed to create Plan B on the fly. We drove south into Albuquerque. Yeah, it's about 80 miles south of Santa Fe on the freeway, but the wind had picked up, constantly 25 miles an hour with gusts into the 40s. And so we left Albuquerque and continued to drive south along the Rio Grande, cutting through the high desert of New Mexico. And we went through small city after small city, and we went through one called Truth or Consequences. Yes, that is really what they call it. Into Hatch, New Mexico, where they farm, you got it, Hatch chilies. We saw rows upon rows of what we later learned were pistachio and pecan trees. New Mexico's one of the largest exporter of those. Who knew? Finally coming to a rest in Las Cruces, home of New Mexico State University and our home for the evening, Drury Inn & Suites. See, the winds had not abated. We'd been chased from the north of the state almost to the border of Texas and Mexico itself to no avail. We had plans for camping that night. You know, Plan B, we had put it together. On to Plan C. We had determined to make the best of it, so the next morning we rose early and saw the Organ Mountains. While certainly not snow-covered 14ers like in Colorado, these are an impressive sight. Our camping plans would have taken us on the backside of these, but that darn wind. We continued our drive east and north towards Alamogordo, through the Chihuahua Desert into White Sands National Park. Now here in Colorado we have the Great Sand Dunes National Park, and these sand dunes are similar and yet very different. They're not as high, and they're made of gypsum, which gives it its white color. All right, so where are we?
We are in White Sands National Monument.
Which is?
Which is in New Mexico.
Just kind of, southeast of Alamogordo?
Yep.
And this is similar and yet different from Great Sand Dunes in Colorado. What did you say this is made of?
This is made of gypsum.
Sands National Park is in the same area as the White Sands Missile Range, home to the Trinity site where the first atomic bomb was tested, though that's actually much further to the north than the national park. East into the mountains, we had been in awe as we drove this direction of these mountains that were presenting themselves to the east. Lincoln National Forest, here we come. Roadways and off to the pavement and onto the packed roads. This is what we had been waiting for. I'm not sure how far in the distance you can really tell out here, but if you look at the valley, all that white that's all sand from the White Sands Missile Range, a national monument. We are in the mountains just east of Alamogordo. We're looking west into the valley and the San Andreas Mountains. Andres, and then on the other side of that is where Las Cruces is, where we stayed last night. Forested areas. We later found out that while this is a playground of southern New Mexico to be expected, it's also home to many cabins and weekend getaways for the residents of El Paso, Texas. On the way out of the area we were in, the weather radio that we listened to started going crazy. The weather was rearing its head once again. We tried avoiding the storm and drove every direction except west to do so. No luck. We ended up spending several hours at a Burger King in Artesia, New Mexico, just sitting it out. When the rains had finally passed, we drove north. We just wanted to start heading home by this time, having found out that almost 7 inches of rain had fallen in our planned camping area. Just go home. And into the land of aliens we ventured, Roswell, New Mexico, only to find it flooded.
Roswell Correctional Facility and Midway. Additional rainfall amounts of 0.5 to 1 inch are expected over
There's
the
water
area.
up ahead.
This additional rain will result in minor flooding. Turn around, don't drown when encountering flooded roads. Most flood deaths.
You got your video?
Yeah.
Most
Yeah.
flood-related deaths occur in automobiles. Do not attempt to cross water-covered bridges, deep or low water crossings. Repeating, a flood advisory has been issued until 7:30 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time for the following counties in New Mexico, Travis, and Lincoln. The National Weather Service in Albuquerque has issued an oil and snow stream flood advisory for southeastern Lincoln County in central New Mexico until 7:15 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time. At 5:18 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time, flooding from earlier thunderstorms will continue to recede through the evening. Additional rainfall amounts will be light.
Oh, we're clearing out the undercarriage, babe.
Creeks and rivers may continue to be impassable. Some locations that may experience flooding include Cardozo, Lincoln, Cardozo Downs, Capitan,
That's just incredible.
San Patricio, Glendo, Lincoln State Monument, Hondo, Finney, Fort Stanton.
Yep, we spent the evening at another hotel way up north on I-40 and woke up the next morning, Memorial Day itself, and drove through. Yep, you guessed it. More rain until we reached home. Oh well, you can't bat 1,000 when you go camping. But what an adventure. Things that we saw and things that we want to see again, I'm sure. We'll try New Mexico in the near future.